to participation, from archives to analytics, from storage to scholarship, and from heritage to human capital. In alignment with vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, Gyan Bharatam seeks to ensure that India's ancient knowledge systems are not museum artifacts, but living resources that inspire innovation, responsibility, ethics, and global dialogue. This AI Summit is a true reflection of the same. And for this, we require collaboration among academicians, AI research labs, cultural custodians, private technology partners, state government, and international repositories. It is in true sense a sabka prayas for knowledge reclamation. By fusing eternal wisdom of our manuscripts with the transformative power of AI, India is not merely digitizing the past, we are co-creating our shared future. In the same line, I strongly encourage you all to check out the Gyan Bharatam Pavilion in Hall 14, where transition from rare manuscript to machine-readable format, to translation in multiple Indian languages and world languages, and to conversation with the manuscript is being demonstrated live. Do try your hands. And I mean chit-chat. It's not exactly hands-on because you can talk with it. So I once again extend a heartfelt welcome to all our esteemed chair, panelists, participants. I'm confident that today's discussion will generate actionable insights, strategic partnerships, and visionary pathways for this landmark initiative. As the motto of Gyan Bharatam says very, very clearly, Nahi Gyanen Sadrisham Pavitrmihi Vidyate. So I now invite Secretary Culture for his opening remarks, context setting, and further moderation of the session. And before that, I'll request the panelists and chair for a group photograph before we start the session. Sir, please come in the front. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Sir, over to you now.
Thank you, Kamal. I'll not waste too much of a time of the audience on speaking. So I'd like the panelists to elaborate on the various aspects of partnership that we've been able to stitch for the Gyan Bharatam mission. You would have seen the film, you would have known the context that Gyan Bharatam is a mission to bring India's heritage, India's knowledge systems at one platform and use technology to preserve this heritage, to conserve this heritage for our future generations, but also to make sure that whatever knowledge is enshrined in these manuscripts, which are thousands of years old, that knowledge comes out and it becomes useful and also purposeful for the future of our country. It is also important that the knowledge that is coming out of these manuscripts is of interest to the new generation. And it is also important to understand that the diversity of India, which is of course our strength, is sometimes also a challenge, because when we are looking at manuscripts, we are looking at various scripts. So you have one script, and in that script there may be many languages. There may be a language, but it may be written in many scripts. So when we are looking at these manuscripts, we are looking at the diversity of these manuscripts, the languages and scripts. The other important aspect of these manuscripts is the era in which they were written. The script also changes. So if it is Nagari written in 6th century AD, it has a different way of writing. And when we evolve to the 8th or 9th or 10th century, the way of writing changes, and some of the letters, their shape and the way of writing is different. Then there is also difference in writing particular letters in different regions of the country. So all these differences, when we are trying to understand these differences and convert these handwritten text into a machine-readable text, which is basically a basic requirement for applying the artificial intelligence tools, that is the first challenge that we need to really surmount. And once we surmount this challenge, then of course there are plethora of technologies. Technology to translate is available. Technology to use a LLM or a small language model, particularly to a particular topic or a particular manuscript, that is available. Looking at creating metadata, looking at creating regional setups of these manuscripts, of having interpretations both from the aspect of the knowledge that is enshrined within the manuscript itself, and also comparing that knowledge with other knowledge systems that exist on the open platforms. So there are so many opportunities, but there are some basic challenges. So to meet those challenges, we had a competition. It was a Gyan Setu competition that we held in September 2025. And we challenged the young professionals, young technology companies to come and showcase some solutions which can help us to surmount those challenges. And 4 companies were selected. In our journey from September 2025 to February 2026, we made some major advancement in solutions which have been brought by our alliance partners. So today's session is basically to bring this alliance before you and to further strengthen this alliance. We are not stopping at the partners who have already approached us or whom we have found and they have joined the mission of Gan Bharatam. We are also looking at new partners who have some more solutions which can help us to really solve these problems that we are facing and finally reach a solution which can help us to have one, conservation of manuscript, have a digital data of that manuscript, that digital data getting converted into a machine readable text which is 100% accurate, then allowing any researcher, any student to actually read that manuscript in the language of his or her choice, and then also do the search on that manuscript or on a group of manuscripts on a particular subject. Like if it's a Ayurveda set of manuscripts or Indian medical system or medicine system manuscripts, manuscripts on astronomy, manuscripts on mathematics, manuscripts on various other aspects of knowledge systems that India has produced over centuries. So this kind of a knowledge data and that knowledge data which can leverage AI for all the aspects of knowledge dissemination, that is the work that we are trying to do. So now I'll ask the panelists who have very kindly joined us. I'll start from Professor Santanu first. I would like to ask Professor Santanu that what was in your mind when you decided to steer the Gyan Setu as a hackathon, as a competition, and how do you see the alliance that is coming forth for bringing the entire mission into a reality?
I think let me first thank the organizer for having this session, and in fact I learned that actually the Métis really was instructed to have this session, and in fact this is something which is in the context of AI what we are talking about. How the Indianness in the AI can be brought in can only be through this Gan Bharatam mission and its interface with AI. Because AI has got a character which we need to understand and need to appreciate, has a culture sensitivity. And by that, by AI becoming very Western dominated, we should not lose out the Indian culture under AI. And in fact, when we came to Gan Bharatam and initiated this hackathon, the whole intent was actually the generation which are getting into the research or they are growing, the younger generation should actually employ their knowledge, use their knowledge, creativity and innovation to address this problem of rejuvenation of our manuscripts. So it's not the digitization, but rejuvenation is bringing that to the knowledge space and mind space of the population in general, as well as with the young community which are getting into this space of knowledge as a process of growing up. And we found that very interesting algorithms which came up, and these algorithms are very different from what has been the state of the art. Because if you look at from an Indian language or the script point of view, see, there is a distinct variations, in fact, regional variations. So if I say that I can simply take a engine which is used for English or any other Western language and adapt it for the Indian languages, it's not possible. In fact, I was involved in an OCR development in Indian languages for a pretty long time. And what we found is that the character of each language, the script of each language has got similarities as well as differences. In fact, that's exactly this today's Gan Bharatam mission, and the AI itself is looking into it and making sure, with reference to these generative AI technology which is being developed, how LLM itself can be used in terms of interpreting these documents. And we have got very new technologies being proposed as a part of the sequence. I think other panelists will touch upon that more. But what is important I would like to touch upon is also look at, there are lots of documents which are not necessarily linguistic documents. There are graphs, there are maps, and there are also, if you look at Ayurveda, there are lots of these diagrammatic representations of how the human body was looked at. And this is also true in terms of when we try to look at the maritime history of the country, these maps and how they have been drawn and how they have changed over the years. It's a very interesting area to explore, which goes beyond that of just a language, but it's part of this whole manuscript tradition. And there are also very interesting thing is that languages which are not being used in India, but there has been lots of manuscripts generated about India in those scripts. And they are old scripts, and you do not really have OCRs really working well in that space. And last point I would like to touch upon is that the enhancement of the manuscripts. See, I think the first task is recognition and making the knowledge in an electronic space, but also it's important that physically, visually, that knowledge should become available. In fact, you'd be seeing, I think, the digital representation of a manuscript in cyberspace. And in fact, we really need to take these manuscripts to the cyberspace, and while taking these, there is a huge need of repairing these manuscripts digitally. And that opportunity is not there in the physical space. And once we digitally repair the manuscripts, the insight that we can get is of a different kind altogether. So AI is enabling that insight. Earlier, those kind of techniques were not there at all, and the way the AI has improved our insight into the manuscripts, even the materials which are being used in the manuscripts, we can actually remove the text and have a better examination of the manuscript, the material which is used for manuscripts. So I think it's a kind of revelation of one aspect of a civilization which was in the manuscripts, and that we are looking with a new lens. I think this is the greatest contribution of Gan Bharatam mission, and that should inspire the younger generations and everyone to look at it and make use of the technologies that is being developed so that our knowledge base can really get enhanced with our own knowledge and not knowledge imported from the West. I think this is my submission.
Thank you, Professor Shantanu. I'd like to ask Professor Jha, in what ways do you think that the manuscripts, especially Sanskrit manuscripts, are really revealing a lot of scientific knowledge and repository of knowledge, which may seem to have come from the West, but actually which originated from our own land, and which the modern generation doesn't know, which will be a major contribution of Gyan Bharatam when this knowledge comes to the fore, and we actually see that this entire fountain of knowledge was actually from the land of Bharat. Professor Jha.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, the chair and the secretary, Shri Agarwalji. Thank you, Adarniya Sureshji, Professor Joshi, and other colleagues. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been part of this Gyan Bharatam from very early times. The question is very pertinent. Sanskrit and the science and technology in Sanskrit, which could be part of manuscripts, and we have to decipher. Decipher in a way, it actually matches with the content, the domain knowledge. For example, if I give you a real example, let's get a manuscript from Banaras area called Rasai and Sara. It's a 20th century text published during British time. The author translated that into Hindi. But the Sanskrit language there is of a very old nature, old times. You can't determine the text of the Sanskrit to belonging to 20th century. Now, the document has a lot of diagrams and how to construct ovens, how to purify metals and all of that. So if we really digitize that and then do research on it, we have to really go into research institutes and giving them projects to them to do research in it. Now, a lot of such knowledge have actually traveled to the West very early times, and they have innovated on it and created a lot of things. Pranini's grammar is one example, where it was translated again and again, from Ferdinand de Saussure teaching Sanskrit for about 3 decades, then to Noam Chomsky coming up with generative grammar, all of that, and then IBM coming up with all these machines and AI, all of that. So things come back to us in a full circle. From Panini back to Panini, we are here. Panini is still the most precise system that we can still implement in entirety for the sake of human cognition. The problem in all of this is that our manuscripts are all scattered everywhere, not only in India, but Southeast Asian countries. I was in Indonesia, a lot of Ayurveda manuscripts are there, actually in Devanagari script. I was in Van Pelt Library of University of Pennsylvania. They have a lot of Devanagari manuscripts, not Sanskrit, kind of pre-Hindi kind of manuscript, right? So the problem is, if you are a Devanagari manuscript or any other Indian manuscript, you are not sure whether this is Sanskrit or other language. For example, Kaithi is another problem in Bihar. We have a lot of data in Kaithi. We don't know which language it is actually. 5, 6 languages could be there. So the condition of manuscripts to the language and the script mixing also happens. You may have not only the script, but the swastika mark, pushpika. We may have a script being influenced by another script. For example, a Mahabharata manuscript rewritten in Devanagari in the Bengal region. So the writer influenced, had Prishnamatra in Devanagari. We don't have Prishnamatra in Devanagari, but that was actually there in the case. So a lot of these complexities are there, documents are, many kinds. Now, physical condition is another thing, and you cannot repair that, but you can do a digital copy. But what if you lift the physical copy and it comes down? It has been eaten by the bugs already. So a lot of such situations are there in India, and we have to be very, very careful in looking at what is called the handwriting recognition of a language which is period. Sanskrit of very early times, the Vedic Sanskrit, the pre-classical, classical Sanskrit, epic Sanskrit, modern Sanskrit, and then you have Pali, Prakrit, Abhabhransha, and then you have the pre-Hindi and the other modern languages. All of that, we have heritage in all of that. And in fact, there was this Iranian embassy collecting Indian manuscripts long time back. Again, there were a lot of manuscripts from the Rajasthan area in Devanagari and not Sanskrit, but they were technical in nature. So, a lot of these issues are there, and we have to be very, very careful when we document this. We not only document, but make it readable to people. People can research on it. And I suggest, creating a committee where we have a scientific manuscript given to students of Sanskrit. I'm very happy that Srinivas ji is starting an initiative in Sanskrit University, where IITs will collaborate with Central Sanskrit University in studying these manuscripts. So we have a team of people where we have Sanskrit students and the IIT students and the faculty across, and then they collectively, an industry partner, they can collectively explore a manuscript in entirety. If something good comes out of it, fine. If nothing, then we have wasted money, not a problem. So, we have to make sure that these are the manuscripts that we have, mostly science and technology. By the way, there are 95% of Sanskrit texts are scientific texts. That includes philosophy also, So we have to be very, very sensitive to these texts, and I'm very happy that Gan Bharatam has done phenomenal work, and this time I'm sure we are going to crack it. We have made a lot of efforts earlier, and this time I'm sure we are going to crack it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Professor Jha, for elaborating such wonderfully the importance of our ancient Sanskrit language and how the knowledge repository rested and was vested in this land, which we don't recognize now, and some other civilizations have stolen that initiative. Now I'll invite Dr. Varkhedi, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Central Sanskrit University, to tell us about the vast expense of this knowledge, which is with various repositories in this country, universities, temple trusts, various libraries, ancient repositories which have this great repository of knowledge, and how we can build these alliances to bring this knowledge in at one platform. I would like to also bring this to the attention of this audience, that when our conference was there in September, and we were exhorting all the participants to commit to bringing this custodianship as a common custodianship under Gyan Bharatam. So it was he who actually took the initiative and took the stage and made everybody agree and sign the Delhi Declaration that all the repositories and all the custodians will come together to bring all the knowledge under one platform, that is Gyan Bharatam platform.
Thank you, Vivek ji, for making me part of this discussion. Let's do an experiment. You can open your AI, ChatGPT, whatever. Ask some query about Indian knowledge. I mean, some query, whatever you have in your mind. Once you get the answer, for example, what is the age of Rig Veda, and then you may ask, how about the authorship of Rig Veda, something like that. You may get very varied answers. Sometimes you will get confused. And in the same manner, if you are placing this knowledge in front of our younger generation who is very curious to know and authenticity of the knowledge. The question is authenticity of knowledge. Now what makes me very comfortable with this initiative of Gan Bharatam team, that is, you are really authenticating the knowledge that is available with the AI. How? See, even if you go to, I just asked someone, one person, whether you are going to believe the Jyotisha, I mean the future forecasting of yours, through the television or AI. Then he said, to some extent. Then I asked him why. And he says, when I go to my own Pandit, whatever he says, I just understand it. It's not just some television Pandit or AI Pandit. The question is authenticity. Today, we have the source, the AI technology receives the knowledge from various sources. And it has its own intelligence. And it gives you a digested knowledge. Ultimately, it is not the given knowledge. The given knowledge is, again, it is analyzed and it is reproduced the way you want it. Now the question is, when the knowledge is given and digested by the machine, and how do you authenticate it? There are various sources. And today, thanks to Gyan Bharatam, the manuscripts are the very important sources of authentication. I mean, when my knowledge is very correct or incorrect, I go to my teacher. He will consult the dictionaries, or he will consult the books. And sometimes we get the doubt about the books, readings of the book, we consult the manuscripts. When we are doubtful about the manuscripts, we consult the oldest manuscript. This is how we authenticate our knowledge. And today, this is the tradition of India. This is the tradition of India. Therefore, today the first time we are bringing the authenticated knowledge to the world. This is where we are appreciating the efforts taken up by the Gyan Bharatam mission. And now I am assured that my knowledge is preserved in an authenticated manner. This is one point I want to make. The second point, as Secretary Sir has asked, everybody is scared about his own knowledge repository and how it can be preserved and how it can be shared. The point is, we are not giving the original manuscript to anyone, right? You can preserve your own manuscript with you. You can keep it with you. You can do worship and you can do whatever you want. It rests with you. And the image of it is not also shared. It is also shared. It is not publicly shared. If you want, you can share it. Otherwise, you can keep with you. but the knowledge of it need not be preserved from the public. It can be only preserved, shared knowledge will be preserved. So how to do it? We extract the knowledge. We don't really share the original manuscript or picture of the manuscript with anyone. Even if we share, what to do? What to do with that? जोशी जी के साथ में दे दूंगा तो वो देखेंगे इसको आधा आधा पढ़ के उसको कहेंगे ये समझ में नहीं आएगा. There are various lipis and various sorts of then how to extract the knowledge from the manuscript and how to give it to the public. This is another challenging job. The risk is I have estimated my own risks. There are so many risks. Today, the knowledge interpretation framework that is employed by the AI technologies are very dangerous. They are not following our own Indian method. For example, a word in Sanskrit, a word used in a context, may go, if it is decontextualized and taken out of the context, it may mean in different way. And the deeper and deeper understanding will not be available. Therefore, we should be very careful while interpreting the text and knowledge. So therefore, now we should try to train the AI technology with the Indian knowledge framework. There are some certain epistemologies. There are certain hierarchies of understanding. So when we do it, then only machine will be able to understand get the spirit of the knowledge, not just the understanding of the knowledge. So understand. Therefore, I believe that we have three different, Triveni. I call it Triveni. One is our own oral tradition. Oral tradition. That means the text is pronounced. Text is read in a particular fashion. That's very important. The text itself in the context, not out of context. The third part is our lived realities, lived practices. Putting all these together, when we bring it to the machine will look at the lived practices, and machine will look at the text, and our machine will also look at the oral tradition. Then knowledge will be authenticated. So with this, I think I appreciate the efforts. To avoid this risk, I request the AI partners to look into these aspects and look into the epistemologies, look into the vocabularies that we have built, structures of the knowledge that we have built in our tradition. Then do it with the experiment with the AI machine. Lastly, one point, AI, मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ, AI ब्रह्म राक्षस है. ठीक है, एक एनालॉजी है, ब्रह्म राक्षस है. आपके पास है, जब तक हम इस तपस्या के साथ इस ब्रह्म राक्षस को वश में नहीं रखेंगे, तब तक सारा ठीक चलेगा. यदि नहीं रखेंगे, हमको खाया जाएगा.
Well said, Dr. Arkady. So this is another aspect of AI which is important to debate and discuss. But I'll come to the Uchcharan part, how important it is to ensure that when you are reading a text, it is pronounced properly. So can we have a tool with the use of AI which allows the reader, who is part of the manuscript reading team, to read it accurately and to speak it accurately? So we have Rishi from Bharat Jain, who has developed a tool of Uchcharan. It's called Uchcharnika. So Uchcharnika and Bharat Jain is working with us as partners, as formal partners to Gyan Bharatam. I would ask him to elaborate on the solution and how Bharat Jain is looking forward to the collaboration with Gyan Bharatam in its various technology aspects of usage of AI as a use case.
Thank you so much. I think I'll talk about Uchcharanika, and I think the amazing collaboration that we have going on. But maybe let me take a step back. I'll talk a little bit about Bharat Jain, which is a non-profit, government-funded, foundational AI company that we have started in partnership with some of the top academic institutes, technology institutes around around the country. And the reason that, and by the way, we have Professor Ravi, who is part of our consortium from IIIT Hyderabad here, and he's doing some excellent work in reading manuscripts. We have Professor Rohit Saluja here at IIT Mandi, and he is part of our consortium as well. And the reason that we have all come together is that whereas we see that AI is going to be something that is all pervading, right? So, you know, all verticals, all industries will be affected by AI. The reason we decided कि ये AI भारत में बनना चाहिए is because we said कि अगर हमारी संस्कृति, our culture, it's not just about language. See, when AI emits tokens, words, right? It's kind of amusing, but AI predicts one word at a time, roughly speaking, right, to construct a sentence. But when AI does that, does it understand not just language, but the underlying culture and the underlying perspectives that we have? Otherwise, we will be left, and our children will be left to speak to a AI that is a West Coast American, right? Which is the AI that all of you are using today. And again, nothing wrong with there being a West Coast AI for people on the West Coast of USA, right? But we need an AI that can actually speak like us and understand us in very different ways. So that's maybe the starting point for BharatGen in trying to build our own AI. And we've made some announcements. I won't share those here, but we are very proud of the work that we are coming and doing together. What I'll say is that digitization enables preservation. When you go and scan the documents, you preserve them. And that then becomes available. You know, you can make sure that the termites don't get to it, and it is preserved. What you need beyond digitization is access, which enables scholarship. Access is the ability to put all of this data into one website, but not just put it on a website, but to make it then searchable. Now, not just searchable in terms of words, so that if you look for the word farm, the equivalent in whichever language, you should be able to find that word farm in any document, in any language, which should be translated. And this should also happen across scripts. So you could have scripts that are not in use anymore, but the word should still be extracted. But then beyond that, why not have concept? So if I search the word farm, should agriculture related documents show up, right? So I think you have to start thinking about AI as a tool that creates or enables scholarship, right? Because once you have that, can you imagine with this vast repository of documents that are being created and digitized, if you create access, the kind of scholarship that this will unlock for the whole nation? I think we could see a revolution in terms of what people are able to do if given this type of access. The third thing I'll say is that on top of access, so if that was the first step, so first step being digitization, second step being access, which enables scholarship. The third step is exploration, which rekindles engagement. The way you're going to get people to actually re-engage with tradition, with culture, is by giving them some form of engagement. And Uchcharanika is one way by which we are doing that, right? So that when people want to learn how to pronounce a particular language or a Sanskrit shlok, then they should be able to come and hear how that is pronounced, say it, and hear how well they did. And all of this can be available via AI, right? So, and that is the tool that, in fact, the person that has helped write the tool, Venkat, is in the audience here today. Venkat, if you want to put your hand up, right? And so we are very proud of that work, right? And we were so happy that Honorable PM himself stopped by, and when he looked at it, and this is a collaboration that you all have driven, right? We are just the AI partner, but the origins lie right here. He asked a very interesting question. He said, okay, if I'm going to Assam, can I learn Assamese using this tool? I said, okay. So what I'm saying is that this idea is not just to learn Sanskrit, but then also be able to learn other languages on top of it. And now the question is being asked that since we have so many foreign delegates, can they speak French as well? So that Venkat will be the next thing that you will need to make this to. My point is that it's not Virasat and Vikas are not decoupled. Virasat and Vikas are tied together, right? And when you deal with something like Sanskrit, you can also deal with language learning and new things. So the third step I think that is very important here is this exploration, because it will rekindle learning. Maybe the fourth step I'll just mention here is discovery, right? Which is what else can AI enable on top of the documents that are there? Can AI be a tool that actually enables and unlocks discovery that already exists in the documents that exist? What else lies in this corpus of documents that perhaps AI can actually unlock? So if we were to develop a futuristic view, I would say that that's something that we think about a lot. Now, just to be clear, I talked about this sort of 4-step linear process where it almost sounds like AI is enabling tradition, right, or knowledge. But I actually want to point out that AI needs this knowledge. The AI we are building actually needs this knowledge. Right? You might have heard about responsible AI or ethical AI. Yeah, आपने शायद सुने होंगे terms. But why do we need to teach this intelligence to be ethical? Today people say don't say this. There are actually list of words that AI is given. Okay, don't talk about all of this. ये subject आया, ये विषय आया, तो don't talk about it. Say I don't know, right? But what if we could actually have a dharmic AI, an AI that actually reflects our culture and our values, that would factor that in, and that is, I think, the goal that we should aspire to. So what I want to point out is this is a closed cycle between AI and our tradition, where AI can enable our tradition and our tradition will enable the AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. So now I'll bring the two stars of our partnership to speak. So there is a solution that we have showcased in our pavilion in hall number 14, that is the Bharat Pavilion, in which Gan Bharatam pavilion is there, which was, Kamal was saying that all of you should visit. So this solution has been brought as a collaboration amongst our partners who are working with us. So one is the Inverse AI, which has stitched the solution together. Bhashini, which has bring the solution of the translation built into that. And also the speech to text and text to speech that has been stitched. And there are other solutions which were there to help to improve the OCR or the handwritten text recognition in a better way. And some of the lessons that we learned from various other partners. And all of that has been brought in one place. So I like to ask Ramakrishna to explain the entire partnership that has been built to bring one solution. That is a solution on Devanagari script, Nagari script and Sanskrit language. Of course, we have a long way to go to crack all the scripts and all the languages. But this is one project that we are showcasing as a complete solution, right from image enhancement to accurate OCR to a translated version of that OCR in any language, any Indian language or any foreign language, or most foreign languages. And then also a feature to talk to the manuscript, to do a advanced search on that particular manuscript, and also on a group of manuscripts which is pertaining to a particular subject. And then also look at the metadata, that is the colophon data, how and when these manuscripts were written, who has written it, what is the background of the writer, and who's the original author of that manuscript. So all that has been brought as a solution which we have showcased in our pavilion, at the Bharat Pavilion, which I would encourage all of you to see. I'll request Ramakrishnan first and then Amitabh to speak on the intervention that Bhashini has brought in. So this is one hybrid solution which we have brought as a part of the work that is being done at Gyan Bharatam to bring all of them, all the stakeholders together under one platform. Ramakrishnan.
धन्यवाद सचिव महोदय. नमस्कार माननीय सुरेश जी और सारे विद्वान मंच में आसीन विद्वान. So I'll just take a minute to set a context and then come to what is getting built together. Couple of decades back, the discussion was data is the new oil. About a decade back, the discussion was India is the country with cheapest data, ARPUs. The discussion that started a couple of years back was we are the largest data creators in the world. 15-18% of world's data is getting created. The discussion that's happening now, couple of discussions now, is we are generating data and importing tokens from the Western LLMs. That's the irony. And the discussion also is happening as we speak right now. And it's not a cliche, it's a fact, is that data is finite. All the LLMs, majority of them, 99.99, have already scraped the internet, have scraped Wikipedia. So what is getting inferenced out is a internet data out there for everyone. So no one has a competitive advantage or a moat. And this is exactly where Gyan Bharatam comes in. How does it come in? So we've been building within Inverse AI, Bharati AI Foundry Lab, and one of the component is Bharatiya GPT. We started this initiative 2.5 years back, started getting a lot of Bharatiya Gyan Parampara data and built a LLM. And when we used to go out and showcase to stakeholders, they would say, इसका source क्या है? ये तो Hindu mythology है. You understand? Mythology is mithya, fact, not a fact. ये आप जो बोल रहे गलत है. किस किस्म के responses आ रहे थे उसमें? We asked, what is the founding source of atomic theory? So the modern answer comes from John Dalton and then goes to the father of atomic theory and then to J.J. Thomson, Ernst Rutherford, Niels Bohr. In fact, it should start from Maharshi Kanad's Vaisheshika Sutra, Anu, Renu, Paramanu. And there are thousands of such narratives. I will not call this a narrative, I'll call this a fact. Talk about Vaimanik Shastra. Best of the Vidwans told me, ये नहीं है. यंत्र सर्वस्व में किसी ने ये pages insert किया. Right? And then we realized that unless we solve this problem, we will not be able to convince our own people. Our own people means people living in Bharatvarsh. So that is exactly where our light bulb moment was there, and we said, if we can have a LLM rooted on a manuscript and give a shlok and give a reference of that manuscript, at least half a battle is won. At least there is no question that it is fake or incorrect or hallucination. So that is an achievement that we have done in the last 3-4 months, Secretary Sir, with you and with your team and your direction. We now have a Bharatiya GPT which gives a domain specific, which gives a manuscript referenced answer. The second thing that came out just a couple of months back through a discussion was, what is the Laukik Prayojanam? What is the utility of this manuscript? Is it like after 60 retirement, I go to a temple, I do some charity? Is manuscript a similar version of that? After the 60s, I will read manuscript. पठन पाठन करूँगा मैं घर पे बैठ के. क्या ये प्रयोजन है? Is there any practical utility for a daily use case for me? So that's when we came up with this thought of having domain-specific, call it SLMs, small language models. What kind of domain? I'll give some obvious answers. Ayurveda, right? We all know it's a science. There is no discussion, debate on that. So what if Ayurvedic text like Charaka Samhita, Shushruta Samhita, Ashtanga Hridayam, we can pick up directly from the source and say this is what it says. And then there is a response in multiple languages. There is a response and explanation. There is a follow-on question. And then take this analogy to now Ganit, where you have Bija Ganitam, where you have Leelavati, where you have Aryabhattiya. You take it to Gandha Shastra, very important narrative that we, in a set of manuscripts, Secretary Sir talked about set of manuscripts, which we got hold of with Gyan Bharatam, is Gandha Shastra. Gandha Shastra is the art and science of perfumery. How many kinds of perfumes? Close to 10,000 kinds of yuktis, formulas, have been prescribed in these manuscripts. And we are all stitching together. This is an XLM, small language model. 6 of them are already out there in Gyan Bharatam Pavilion. You can all come there, have a look at it. And the other thing that the solution gives is an integrated solution. You have a manuscript uploaded, the AI restoration happens, OCRing happens, and you can talk to the manuscript and the rishis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramakrishnan ji. I'll now hand over to Amitabh to explain the Bhashni as a tool which we are using in Gyan Bharatam for translating this machine readable text to various languages, so it becomes easily accessible. And also the tool that is Inverse AI's tool on search, and also on the LLM and the SLM, how Bhashni has got well integrated into that. We'll take 5 minutes.
Sure. So the idea was that we know what the manuscripts are by preserving it and digitizing it, and then of course the SLM throws out the knowledge. Now it's a question of democratizing the knowledge, and democratizing the knowledge happens in 2 ways. One is that we enable the voice part of it, and second is that we enable the language part of it. So there are 2 things which we are looking at. So one, from the voice perspective, the system where it is digitized, it should be able to automatically know what the user wants to know. So if I want to know something, I should be able to ask the manuscript in my own language, in the language as well as on voice. Text, of course, I can do. So you can have a voice journey and you can have a text journey. So when I'm doing the voice journey, automatic speech recognition in multiple language is what is enabled. Today we support 22 languages on voice, 36 languages on text, and we are adding languages like Mizo, Khasi, Garo, and other languages like Bodhi, which is Ladakh language in Ladakh. So we are adding those languages on voice to ensure that these people can be communicating with those manuscript in their own language. We recently have added Bhili language. Bhili language is about tribal language, which is again on voice. It doesn't have a script, but it has a voice, and we have created a script out of it to make it happen. So automatic speech recognition is one thing which is basically being added as a solution on top of the knowledge which is getting generated by Bharatiya GPT. So you can ask a question and the system will be able to understand what question you are asking. And then when the Bharatiya GPT responds to that, then there are 2 ways in which again the knowledge can be disseminated. One is of course text, and the text can be translated into again the number of languages which I talked about, which is 22 in voice, 36 in text as far as Indian languages are concerned, and we have added 35 languages which are international languages again on voice and text. So you are in a position to actually enable the manuscript speak out that answer which the Bharatiya GPT is giving. The answer is in English and mixed with Sanskrit shloka which is referred there. This can be translated into say French, the English portion which is the explanation, and then it can also speak the Sanskrit shloka in Sanskrit and give you the reference. So it's a voice journey end to end, and it is a text journey end to end, which is enabled by our intervention. And as we add more languages, as we add more information on it, we would be in a position to actually make this knowledge democratize across the country to all the people and to everyone as what was our ancient knowledge, what was our culture, and how this is so relevant in current context of both AI and the AI and technology. And perhaps in the world of AI, one thing is very good, that diversity is the standard. Generally in digitization, you are actually looking at creating standards and actually removing diversity so that you are simplifying the problem to be handled. But in this particular case in AI, it's all based on data, and diversity becomes the standard, and AI can actually enable diversity by design. So happy that we have been able to do that.
Thank you so much, Amitabh. We are at the end of our time. I'll request Anirban to propose a vote of thanks, who's the project director of Gan Bharatam. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of another partner who's working on the Sharda and Grantha script. Can you raise your hand? So the young entrepreneur who's working with us on the other scripts. So we are looking at more partners who can look at different scripts and different aspects of manuscripts and work with us in this journey, which we have started with the very, very powerful allies from academia, from technology, from custodianship, and also from various public sector partners. So now I'll like the team to propose a vote of thanks, and I would invite all of you to visit the pavilion, which has been set by Gyan Bharatam, and you can look at the solution, and probably you can give us some more suggestions and ideas how to make it further in a better way.
Thank you, sir. Before we close, there's a small MOU exchange.
Fine, it's not required.
Okay, okay. So I'd like to thank Secretary, all the panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the session. Aap sabka bahut bahut dhanyawad. It's a long journey. We have just started. And as the Secretary has said, please do visit Gyan Bharatam Pavilion in Hall 17. Thank you so much. 14.